Hi there, Dr. Alan Christianson here. This is an important distinction I want to share with you all about mineralization versus calcification. Pretty wild stuff. If you heard the media over the last few years, hopefully you didn't hear too much of it. It's a big time suck and it makes you real depressed. But if you saw some news story about nutrition, you might have seen that vitamins kill people. You might have seen that multivitamins cause heart attacks. You know, the blanket statement is actually true. The majority of multivitamins contain a kind of calcium that's more apt to create plaque than it is to create bone tissue, bones. Calcium has two different fates it can play in your body. It can mineralize, it can help regrow bone, help muscle tissue, help nerve conduction, or it can calcify. So what happens if you've got an oyster and a grain of sand comes inside of it? The oyster secretes calcium carbonate, and that is to cover the sand and protect all the delicate soft tissues that would have been irritated by that sand chunk moving around to make it smoother and cover it. That's a calcification reaction. And ironically, that's the exact same kind of calcium that's found in the vast majority of supplements and also dairy foods. So if you've got a lot of calcium coming into your body that's of a certain chemical type, and there's some source of inflammation, it can make pearls which are not helpful pearls. So this can be plaque in the blood vessels, this can be gallstones, kidney stones, and joint calcifications. They all form by this exact same process. There's some part of your body that's chronically irritated, like the sand in an oyster, and chemical reactions around that heighten the level of minerals that are deposited, and calcification ensues. So one factor is just how much calcium. Another factor is what kind of calcium. The types of calcium that are most apt to calcify are the ones that are the least water soluble. So calcium carbonate is probably the biggest offender. That's the stuff that makes pearls. Now there are some fancier kinds of calcium on the market that are bone derived. They're called MCHC, which is called microcrystalline hydroxyapatite complex. And it's kind of ground up bone material. It's also a very insoluble kind of calcium. So it is well absorbed, but it still can calcify. So it's not ideal. It also has a lot of lead contamination. Calcium citrate malate is the kind of calcium we find in green foods. So paradoxically, the amounts of it that we get are quite small. Even in supplements, it may be 100 milligrams or less. And in green foods, the milligrams of calcium are not large. But that kind of calcium, because it's so well absorbed and so able to mineralize, you don't need very high amounts. It's much more productive. So what else shapes the mineralization versus calcification? Well, a big one is vitamin D. Healthy levels of vitamin D, sunlight, not consistent. Vitamin D supplements, probably 2,000 to 5,000 units. That helps calcium do the right things, not the wrong things. Now we also get calcium, like I mentioned, from greens. Greens are high in vitamin K. It's one of the other fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin K is also very critical for healthy mineralization and avoiding calcification. There's several steps in those reactions that vitamin K benefits. So you want lots of green foods. Better multis have some vitamin K. Several servings of green foods per day, dark leafy greens, they contain that and they keep you covered. Good amounts of physical activity, healthy oxygenation of your blood, lots of movement, that also reduces the risk. A smart step as well is knowing about your total inflammatory load. Being aware of any chronic infections, any arthritis, any toxins in the body, any little pieces of dirt in the oyster, knowing if there are inflammatory triggers, and of course managing them. But the better you can do that, and the more you prevent your body from calcifying, the less apt you'll be to make stones and have issues with that. And the better you'll do in terms of nerve conduction, which is mood and memory and mental function, also muscular contraction, less muscle cramps, better muscular force, more enjoyment of exercise, faster recovery from exercise, and of course better long-term bone health. So that's the benefits of mineralizing, and you want to avoid the detriments of calcifying. Kind of the double-edged sword, it can go either way in the body. So I hope that's helpful stuff, and we'll talk again real soon.